really the basis of relationship is a couple of what you guys have mentioned, right? There's this idea of interest. Now, we have interest in lots of things, right? We'll have interest in having a job, interest in taking care of our family, interest in enjoying our vacation. We'll have lots of interests that we have. Now, if we could fill all those interests on our own, would we need relationships? Right? So it's that combination of having an interest that we have and resources that we need from others that creates the basis for a relationship. And so this chart is kind of a helpful way of looking through that. You see there's the kind of link between people. We have interests, I have interests, you have resources that might help me with that interest. And the way we make that realized is through some kind of... The interesting thing about this, though, is that the exchange isn't enough. Right? If I were to sit down and have a really good exchange with somebody, let's say over coffee, and at the end of the exchange, we just kind of get up and go. Is that a relationship? What's missing?
Follow-up.
A follow-up. What do you need for a follow-up?
Connection.
Some connection, okay? We can have a connection.
Next steps.
So you need to have next steps. There needs to be something that comes up afterwards. There was someone who said it over here earlier. But what is it that you need to have happen in order to trust? All right, I'm going to stop hiding the ball here. Commitment, right? You need to make a commitment to the next step. Right? Without the commitment, there's no relationship. Anybody been in a relationship without a commitment? Yeah. How long do those last? Right. So that's the kind of second critical component here of relationships. That there's a commitment that comes out of it, right? It's very clear. And we're talking about building public relationships, so in the context of our purpose, our shared purpose here. So I'm going to move us into how in organizing we build relationships. Right? Organizing, there's one way we do it in particular, and some of you may be familiar with this, is the one-on-one, or the one-to-one, or indies, as I understand they're sometimes called. We're going to call them one-to-ones here in this training. It's an intentional meeting where you have an opportunity to exchange with someone, but also to learn about them, right? And so there's particular steps, and this is kind of thinking about like ingredients to a good one-on-one. Everyone's going to have their style, just like a chef. You have Italian chefs, you put 10 Italian chefs in a room with the exact same ingredients. Would they come up with the same recipe? Right, lots of different recipes, but they'd be using the same ingredients, right? So they're all cooking the foods that we can eat. And so that's kind of how this works. There's these steps you go through in a one-to-one conversation. We're actually going to model that in a second here, so you can see and get a sense for how it works, and you'll have an opportunity to practice it as well. So I'm just going to go through very quickly. The first thing you have to do is actually get someone's attention. You got to select who you're going to have a one-on-one with. So you want to select people you think have leadership ability. They think you've seen at a bunch of events. You think it makes sense, right? You get their attention. You get their interest. You need to be able to say something. You can't, if you go up to someone and say, hey, I think we should have coffee. They might get a little confused about your intentions, right? You got to be clear about what the interest is that you share. Right, so can we have coffee next week to talk about this Power Up America campaign? I noticed you've come to the last 2 events, and I really want to see if we can work together to make that happen. See the difference in that? Just being really clear about what's the interest, why that person might be interested in that. So you actually sit down, you set up your meeting, right? Let's say the person says, okay, I'll meet you at 5 o'clock next week. You sit down, and at the meeting, you want to repeat. You want to be able to say, hey, this purpose of this conversation is not just chit-chat. We're not just here to kind of hang out. But we want to actually get to know each other. And that's really what the purpose is. I just want to get to know you a little bit, share a little about myself, and see if we can work together on this campaign. Right?
Hi Gail, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Brooke.
Good. I just wanted to take the time to thank you for actually just taking the time to talk with me today. And I've noticed that you've been coming to a lot of our events, and it seems that you're really interested in what we're doing.
Third step, which is the exploration. And that's linking to the story work that you all have been doing in the feedback. It's trying to find out, who is this person? Why? How'd they get here? So the exploration is always asking why. Why that cause? Next one here. Why do you care about this? Why you? Right? Really getting clear about those choice points. What were the choices this person made that got them here? Because those choices that people make, what do they tell you about somebody? What do they tell you about somebody? Their values, right? And when you know someone's values, that trust that we can build, Does that connect in any way? Yeah, it's a little different to know why someone's driven to do what they're doing, and you can build trust on that than just to know, okay, they want to do it, right? So that is like the heart of it.
So thank you so much for coming. Just to step into this a little more, so what made you decide to come offline for this campaign?
I think, Indiana has a really high unemployment rate right now. We're in a recession, so I see a lot of people without jobs. So I think it's a great idea to, get people working again and clean up the environment.
Great. And so you're totally on the same page. So can you tell me just a little bit more about is it just Indiana and jobs, or like what's really motivating you to work with Move On for this right now?
Well, I think Move On is pretty effective. And yeah, I just, the environment, Indiana not only has a high unemployment rate, but we're like second worst in the country as far as the environment. So yeah, it's, the issues that do concern me.
So when did you actually get involved with Move On? Like what was your first?
Probably during the Bush administration, I was pretty upset about nothing happening. So a friend of mine was on the Move On list, and then I joined up.
By really finding out who this person is, you understand the interests and the resources, and you can decide to make an exchange, and then decide to commit.
Well, you've actually been a Move On member longer than I have, so that's pretty neat. I didn't get involved until the Obama campaign. I really was never really interested in politics before. I thought it was the same people doing the same things, and I tried to change things from the bottom. I'm a social worker, that's what I do, and so I just really wanted to give all the children I work with a role model, and somebody they could look up to, that they know they can do anything, and that anything is possible in this world. So I started working with Move On during the Obama campaign. Did you work on the Obama campaign or volunteer at all with that?
I didn't volunteer. I definitely worked with my friends to get them to turn out and vote, but I don't have a lot of organizing experience.
And what you're committing to at the end is to build that relationship. Right? We're talking about in the context of building people for leadership. Right? This is not just to have someone sign a petition. This is to build your core leadership capacity so that when you do go get people to sign a petition, you have 7, 8 people working on that instead of one person. Right? So this is what that's about.